launch a counterattack, David entered again. Glancing at each of us, he questioned, "What's going on here?" Sarah remarked, her voice brimming with hatred, "Your wife was just explaining how she's turned into the perfect little housewife." With a look of perplexity on his face, David's eyes briefly shifted to me before returning to Sarah. "Sarah, I don't like the way you speak. What issue do you have?" Sarah gave a puffy, blowfish-like huff. "My issue? David, your wife is a gold digger. She gave up her work and is now dependent on you. It is visible to everybody." David went crazy at that point. His typically composed expression vanished, and he faced Sarah with an intensity in his eyes that I had seldom witnessed. He said, "My office now," gesturing to the corridor. Sarah gave me a stare strong enough to curdle milk as her jaw clamped shut, and she strode out after David. My heart was pounding as I stood there in the kitchen, unsure of what in the world would happen next. The noise level of the shouting from David's office was low, but the passion was unmistakable. Words like apologies, family, and respect were exchanged, although it was unclear to whom exactly. Then suddenly there was silence. A disturbingly silent silence, as in something significant has just occurred. I was waiting with my breath in my mouth, both expecting and dreading at the same time. Sarah burst through the office door moments later, her eyes flaming with rage and her face the color of a ripe tomato. She blasted by me and up the front door, slamming it so hard the glass rocked, without even looking my way. David emerged from the doorway, appearing as though he had taken 10 hits with a heavyweight. He looked up at me, sighing heavily. "I'm sorry you had to hear that, Anna, but I've had enough of her disrespect towards you, towards us." My prior fury dissipated as I approached him. "Are you okay?" He gave me a close embrace. We're going to be. I simply wanted to let her know that she cannot treat you or any of us in that manner." Sarah vanished from our lives as a ghost after that confrontation. Without any trace of her, days stretched into weeks, and weeks into months. For our family, at least, it seemed as though she had disappeared off the face of the planet. Though it wasn't easy at first, I was able to get the hang of being a housewife very soon. Under my supervision, our house, which was previously merely a place to collapse after a hard day at work, became a well-oiled machine. I also took a quick look at David's financial investing portfolio. It turns out that I was really good at it, possibly better than I had realized. Amidst managing the finances and taking care of the family, life was hectic yet oddly fulfilling. I even started discussing a belated honeymoon with David. We never really had time to do something special for one another after we were married because of his hectic work schedule. Just the two of us, we ought to go somewhere. After supper, he would put his arms around me and say, "Anywhere you want," with a kind grin on his lips. "Yeah," I would reply, sinking back into his hug. "And leave all this," I would point toward our house and the life we had created. "Who's going to keep you from burning the house down trying to make toast?" He would laugh, a warm, deep laugh. "We'll have to assume the risk, I guess. If it means having you to myself for a week, I'll learn how to make toast." But it wasn't just us. With Alex, David was a rock star. He had taken to instructing him in baseball, demonstrating the fundamentals, proper swing technique, and game-changing strategies. I would see them from the kitchen window while they threw the ball back and forth, giggling and applauding. It was everything I had imagined a family would be like. Then, fate threw us a curveball right when we were about to truly settle into this perfect existence. David was gone in an instant, along with all of his energy and future ambitions. They stated it was heart trouble. We were taken aback by the sudden and unexpected event that left us stunned. We're organizing our honeymoon one day, and the next I'm trying to find out how to break the news to our kid that his father isn't returning. Even though it seemed like it should have, the world continued on. Life continued, inevitably unpleasant. The mansion seemed more empty. On David's desk, the financial statements were unopened. In the corner, the baseball glove gathered dust. I started talking to David as if he could hear me in the quiet that followed. I would mutter, holding his pillow close. You left us too soon, attempting to capture the last vestige of him before it faded. You know that you promised me a honeymoon, with a toast. Toast was what you promised. David's funeral day was a haze of grief and protocol. My sadness was clutching me so tightly that it was difficult for me to breathe. I was barely holding it together. Sarah seemed strangely disconnected during it all, her thoughts obviously focused on things other than grieving. She had not assisted with any of the arrangements, so on top of my own pain, I had to juggle everything. Those who knew David, including acquaintances, co-workers, and distant relatives, crowded the church as the funeral began. Every story and recollection they shared painted a different image of the man we all missed so much. They spoke well of him. Their obvious regard and love for David provided a little measure of solace amongst the suffering. Subsequently, when the tributes concluded, Sarah had her turn. Even in her anguish, it seemed as though she couldn't bear the thought of not being the focus of attention. As she spoke to the assembled throng, she forced her way to the front and had calculating, icy eyes. Her voice broke through the somber atmosphere as she said, "I need to make something clear. Anna is not one of us. She is here. She's always played the devoted wife and been all about the money, but we all know the real story." As Sarah's allegations flew, murmurs sounded across the room. "She is nothing more than a gold digger. Only adored what my brother could provide for her. I have never loved him. She kept me apart from my own brother and, let me tell you, made my life miserable in order to maintain her position as the only heir." My breath caught at the sheer boldness of her falsehoods. She portrayed me as the antagonist in her warped story, and I just stood there, motionless. With a vicious gaze, she said, "And I'll fight for what's rightfully mine. David's inheritance belongs to his real family, not some outsider and her unknown child." Whispers became louder as the room descended into turmoil, with people taking sides. However, despite the chaos, a startling amount of people turned to look at me with supportive and sympathetic expressions. Both David and we were well known to them. The truth was known to them. I was in a state of disbelief, the hurt caused by Sarah's treachery cutting through my sadness. To stand there on the day we were meant to say our final goodbyes to David and listen to her spew such hatred was intolerable. Dealing with her devious remarks and contempt in private was one thing. It was then that I saw the full extent of her hate. It went beyond simply not getting along with me or disliking our union. For the sake of money and malice, Sarah was prepared to destroy all that David and I had worked so hard to build. Sarah's vitriol compounded the raw, gaping hole left after David's burial. For Alex's sake, I had attempted to keep up a front of strength, but Sarah's unwavering quest for what she saw to be her rightful inheritance tested my fortitude on a regular basis. Days passed, each one a struggle to maintain my composure and keep Alex out of the worst of it. Then, one afternoon, as Alex and I were going through a box of David's possessions, a mixture of laughter and tears adorning our recollections, Sarah burst through our door like a hurricane, her eyes blazing with rage. As she slammed a copy of the will onto the kitchen table where we were sitting, she said, "Explain this to me, Anna. Why does everything go to your son while I, David's blood, get scraps?" I inhaled deeply as I braced myself for the assault. "Sarah, David said exactly what he wanted. He cared about making sure Alex and I were okay." Her angry face twisted as she spit. "Legally speaking, that child isn't even his. He was never adopted by David. I'll take this to court after court until I obtain what's rightfully mine." With big eyes full of uncertainty and terror, Alex glanced from Sarah to me in search of comfort. Squeezing his shoulder, I silently assured him that I would be safe. "Sarah," I said, maintaining my composure in spite of the internal commotion, "you're not correct. David's biological son, Alex, means he didn't need to be adopted." Her outburst came to an abrupt stop as words stuck in her throat. Her expression of shock was etched on her face as she gasped out a single syllable. "Yes," I said as a wave of stubborn power passed me. "Alex's father is David. Because we wanted to shield Alex from exactly this type of unpleasantness, we never told anyone. Lies, Sarah murmured, her voice breaking, yet her conviction in her charge faltered. You're not telling the truth. Show it. Wordlessly, I got up. The floor was scuffed by my chair. I took out the packet that included the birth certificate with David's fatherhood, clearly stated on it. I threw it upon the surface just before her. As Sarah took out the paperwork, her hands trembled and her gaze darted between the lines of indisputable proof. Her expression showed a range of emotions, including disbelief, denial, and then a growing recognition of the truth. The fight leaving her, she said, This can't be, as the reality of her brother's existence, which she believed to be her own, fell apart. It is, I said, being forceful without being rude. David cherished Alex. He cherished us. His final request was that we be taken care of. Are you unable to accept that? Sarah raised her head and met my eyes for the first time benevolently. I had never noticed that kind of vulnerability before. She said, I need to think. She didn't say anything more before getting up, holding the documents tightly and leaving a somber trail of quiet behind her. With wide, curious eyes, Alex, who was still clinging to my side, glanced up at me. His voice was low as he questioned, Is she going to come back? I'm not sure, my love, I answered, encircling him in an embrace. But we're going to be all right, come what may. The most important thing is that we have each other. Sarah was even more determined to sabotage my son's legitimate inheritance in the weeks that followed the incident. What little serenity we had managed to find in our sadness threatened to be destroyed as her activities culminated in an unlawful struggle. She insisted that I had somehow tricked David into thinking Alex was his real kid, so I could protect our future finances at her cost. Bitter accusations from her led to a demand for unquestionable paternity verification under the law. It was not decided to move forward with a DNA test hastily. It seemed like a betrayal, a last insult that David's memory did not merit. However, it was an essential step to ensure Alex's future security and to confirm his legitimate position as David's son. There was a simmering tension, a hidden struggle between truth and anger, behind the clinical, impersonal procedure. Sarah and I were sat across from one another in the sterilized lawyer's office on the day the findings were due. There was a chasm of unsaid accusations between us. You're sure you want to do this? I questioned, breaking the ice. Though a flurry of emotions raced inside, my voice remained calm. Sarah gave a curt nod, her lips barely lining her mouth. Let's just get this over with, she remarked, a defiant tone in her voice belying her anxiety. The attorney, a third party in this family's strife, opened the envelope with a solemnity befitting the seriousness of the circumstances. He glanced over the paper, then raised his head to look at me, then at Sarah. With a calm tone, he said, The results are conclusive. Alex's biological son's status has been confirmed with great certainty by the DNA study. As a result, he is now David's legitimate successor according to the will. The remarks lingered in the atmosphere, signaling the conclusion of Sarah's campaign of uncertainty. A burden was removed off my shoulders, and the truth that we had always known, as well as David and Alex, were vindicated. As the ramifications of the outcome dawned on Sarah, she sat still, her face losing its color. The battle, the rage, the unrelenting pursuit of what she thought was rightfully hers. All of it fell apart in the face of indisputable reality. This, I didn't. She stumbled, her confident exterior crumbling. You see, Sarah, David's first priority was always Alex. Because he was his own, he loved him as his own. It was never essential for us to go through this struggle and this suffering. Sarah averted her gaze, her eyes overflowing with tears that would not come. Sensing our emotional distress, the lawyer indicated, rather subtly, that we might need a pause. I reached across the abyss of our shared sadness as the office door clicked shut behind him, leaving us in a state of uncomfortable truce. Sarah, Let's move past this now. We cannot undo the past, but we can choose our course of action going forward for David and Alex's sake. But she will not listen to it. She yelled, "You're going to regret this," and slammed the office door hard as she fled. Alex and I tried our best to preserve David's memory and to pay tribute to him in our day-to-day activities, but time continued to pass without stopping. Then I started to hear bits and pieces about Sarah's present situation via the grapevine. A bleak picture was drawn by the whispers. It seems that Sarah had gotten herself into a financial rut. Her funds couldn't quite sustain her lifestyle, but she'd always had a taste for the better things. After David passed away, the drama surrounding her fortune appeared to tip her over the brink into an extravagant spending and borrowing frenzy. She really thought she'd get everything, huh? While we were chatting over the fence one afternoon, my neighbor Mrs. Thompson remarked something in passing. "Now I hear she's dodging calls left and right, creditors breathing down her neck." I exhaled and squeezed my nose bridge. Yes, it does appear to be. It's unbelievable, but she felt all this chaos was worth it for opulent handbags. Mrs. Thompson gave a disapproving click of her tongue. "Oh, my pride and greed. They induce stupid behavior in others. Really, shame. God rest his soul, your David was never one for such drivel." I felt a complex range of emotions when I learned of Sarah's financial difficulties. Her misfortune held no joy, no feeling of justification. In fact, it served as a heartbreaking reminder of just how shattered our family had become in the aftermath of David's passing. It had been months since the whole drama around the inheritance ended. My phone rang with a number I hadn't seen in a long time, just when I was starting to believe that serenity had returned to our lives. Sarah was there. It was the last thing I expected to hear from her after all that happened. More than anything, curiosity prompted me to respond. "Listen, Anna. I need your assistance." Sarah's voice finally emerged, sounding desperate. She hadn't contacted me previously. I couldn't resist laughing hurriedly. "Aid? That's rather generous of you to say. Did you not say that I wasn't family? What altered?" After a moment of hesitation, she made her plea. "That was in the past. Now is the moment. Anna, I'm all in. I have bills that I must pay off. Aren't we all family?" I was astounded by her request's boldness. "A family? Sarah, you seem to have a short memory. I meant nothing to you when it suited you. And now we're suddenly family in your hour of need?" She attempted to cut me off, but I wasn't having any of it. "It's not like that. That is precisely how it is. Sarah, you haven't altered at all. Even more self-centered than before. You dragged Alex and myself through the muck without hesitation, and now you're asking for assistance." A pause occurred, a hush that said 1,000 words. I could just hear her trying to find some kind of counter-argument, something that would make me change my mind. I just thought. "You made a mistake in thinking." I firmly interrupted her. "Sarah, you made your bed. You have to lie in it now. To be honest, you're not a part of my family. I have my own to take care of, not in light of everything." She was silent for a while, and I briefly wondered whether she had anything else to say. Her voice was tiny and resignational when she finally spoke. "I see. I apologize, Anna, for everything. Sorry, Sarah, just doesn't cut it. Words are not as loud as actions. And you'll manage to get yourself out of this situation. Farewell." As I hung up, I released a deep breath I had been holding. It was like finishing the last page of a book that had too much conflict in it. I was reminded of what was really important when I turned to look at Alex, who was sitting at the kitchen table doing his homework. "Who was that, Mom?" Mid-sentence, Alex inquired, his pencil halting. "Hey, honey, just someone from the past." I smiled and told him, "It's nothing to worry about." I studied him for a while as he nodded and returned his focus to his assignment. Now, this was my reality. My top concern. We had moved past the drama, the arguments, and the never-ending cycle of animosity with Sarah.
Hey everyone, I'm Jake, just your typical 18-year-old trying to figure life out. I've always worked hard, straight A's, juggling a part-time job, the whole deal. My grandparents, total MVPs. They've been my biggest supporters, always believing in me when I doubted myself. Jake, my boy, Grandpa would say, you've got a fire in you. Don't let anyone snuff it out. But then there's my family, my parents and my younger brother, Matt. Oh man, where do I even begin? Matt's 16, and in my parents' eyes, he's basically Einstein 2.0. Matt got another perfect score on his math test. Did you see Matt's science project? He's gonna cure cancer one day. Meanwhile, I'm like, hey, I got into the honor society. And crickets. Complete silence. But everything changed over one dinner. My grandparents slid an envelope across the table. What's this? I asked. Open it, sweetie, my grandma said, practically bouncing in her seat. I opened it and my heart nearly stopped. A full scholarship to Oxford, no way. I looked at Grandpa and he was grinning. You earned it, Jake. We've been saving for years and we know this is your dream. I was on cloud 9. Oxford. I couldn't stop dreaming about the future, international relations, maybe even becoming a diplomat. But when I glanced at my parents, something felt off. They were too quiet. Dad kept clearing his throat and Mom wouldn't even meet my eyes. That's great, son, Dad said, but it sounded like the words were stuck in his throat. Later that night, while grabbing a snack, I overheard them talking. We can't let him go, Mom said. What about Matt? Dad replied. I know, but it's Oxford for crying out loud. How can we say no? But Matt's the gifted one. He deserves a chance like this. Jake, he's always been so average. Average? My own parents thought I was average. Maybe we could ask the grandparents to transfer the scholarship to Matt, Dad suggested. He'd have a better shot at getting in anyway. I was floored. Everything I'd worked for, they were ready to hand it over to Matt without a second thought. My dream, my hard work, meant nothing to them. I went back to my room, my mind spinning. Should I fight for what was mine, or let them hand my future over to Matt? One thing was certain, I wasn't backing down without a fight. 2 weeks before I was supposed to leave for Oxford, my parents called a family meeting. I should have known something was up. They looked shifty, avoiding eye contact. Jake, honey, Mom started, her voice sickly sweet. We need to talk about the scholarship. Dad jumped in. Matt's grades are exceptional, and we think he'd benefit more from Oxford. I felt like I'd been sucker punched. What? You can't be serious. Now, Jake, Mom said, be reasonable. Matt's gifted. This opportunity could really launch his career. He's 16. I shot back. I'm the one who's worked for this. Dad tried to look sympathetic. We know, but Matt's potential. Potential? I exploded. What about my potential? This is my scholarship. That's when Matt sauntered in, grinning like he'd already won. Thanks, Mom and Dad. I'll make you proud at Oxford. I lost it. Are you kidding me, Matt? This is mine. Sorry, bro, he shrugged, still smirking. Guess they finally figured out who's got the brains. I stormed out, slamming the door so hard the house shook. I needed my grandparents to step in, but when I called, all I got was their voicemail. Hey, it's Grandpa. We're on a dream cruise for a month. No reception out here in the middle of the ocean. Catch up when we're back. Great, just great. I felt my whole world crumble. Everything I dreamed of gone, just like that. I fell into a funk, barely eating or sleeping. My best friend, Sophia, noticed something was wrong and came over. All right, spill it, she demanded. So I told her everything, the scholarship, my parents' betrayal, Matt's smugness. By the time I finished, I was a mess. Sophia stood up, hands on her hips. Oh hell no, we are not letting them get away with this. I sighed. What can I do? They've made up their minds. Sophia's eyes narrowed. Fight back. This is your future. You can't just let them take it. But how? I asked, feeling completely hopeless. Sophia grinned, a mischievous glint in her eye. We expose them. Gather evidence. Show everyone what they're really like. I sat up straighter, her energy infectious. You really think we can do that? I know we can, she said confidently. Your parents and Matt have been pulling this crap for years. There's got to be a paper trail. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. You're right. There's no way Matt's as perfect as they say. Sophia nodded. Exactly. We'll dig into his academic history, talk to your teachers, and when your grandparents get back, we'll have a rock-solid case. I stood up, feeling determination surge through me. Let's do it. I'm not giving up my future without a fight. Sophia grinned. That's the Jake I know. We'll show them what happens when they mess with the wrong guy. We dove right in, turning into detectives, piecing together years of lies and deceit. I started by pulling out old report cards, awards, and school records. It didn't take long before something caught my attention. Look at this, I said to Sophia, pointing at Matt's transcript. Straight A's in advanced classes, but his standardized test scores are average at best. Sophia frowned. That's weird. Let's dig deeper. I reached out to Oxford, explaining the situation. They were stunned and quickly sent over documents confirming my acceptance in scholarship. Step 1. Complete. As we kept investigating, a disturbing pattern emerged. Matt's genius status was built on a shaky foundation. We found suspicious similarities between his essays and online sources, discrepancies in his grades, and even altered report cards. Jake, look at this. Sophia gasped, showing me a comparison between Matt's science fair project and an obscure research paper. It's practically identical. A cold realization hit me. He's been cheating for years. We needed more concrete proof. That's when I remembered Mr. Thompson, my old teacher who never bought into Matt's act. I reached out to him, and he agreed to meet us. I've been waiting for someone to finally catch on, Mr. Thompson said, handing over a thick folder. I've documented every instance of Matt's cheating and your parents' cover-ups. Just then, my phone rang. It was my grandparents. They were back. I filled them in, and they were horrified. We're coming over right now, Grandpa said, his voice shaking with anger. When they arrived, we all gathered in the living room. It felt like a courtroom, the tension thick in the air. What's this about? Dad demanded, but he already knew. I laid out everything, the fake grades, the plagiarism, the lies. Matt's face went pale. Is this true? Grandma asked, her voice trembling. Matt broke. I didn't mean for it to go this far, he sobbed. I just wanted to make you proud. Jake was always so smart and hardworking. I felt inadequate. Mom tried to defend him. We were just trying to help Matt. We thought. You thought wrong, Grandpa thundered. You betrayed Jake, and you enabled Matt's dishonesty. This stops now. Matt turned to me, tears streaming down his face. I'm so sorry, Jake. I never wanted to hurt you. I couldn't handle the pressure. I stood there, feeling a mix of anger and pity. Matt, cheating and lying isn't the answer. You're smart in your own way. You didn't need to do this. My parents looked stunned, guilt written all over their faces. Dad tried to apologize. Son, we never meant for this to happen. We thought we were doing what was best. For who? I cut him off. Certainly not for me, and not even for Matt. You failed both of us. Mom reached out, her voice breaking. Jake, please, we're so sorry. Can't we just talk about this? I shook my head. Sorry doesn't cut it. You were willing to destroy my future for a lie. I can't forgive that. Not now. Maybe not ever. The room fell into a heavy silence. Sophia squeezed my hand, her quiet support the only thing keeping me grounded. Grandpa stood up, his voice firm. Jake will be going to Oxford as planned. As for the rest of you, I suggest you take a long, hard look at the damage you've caused. As we left the house, I felt an immense weight lift off my shoulders. The truth was out, and my future was back on track. But the cost, the shattered trust and broken family, was something I have to deal with in time. Sophia hugged me tightly. You did it. Jake, you fought for yourself. I nodded, feeling a strange mix of triumph and sadness. Yeah, I did. Now it's time to move forward. The aftermath of the confrontation was intense. My grandparents wasted no time taking legal action to reinstate my scholarship. They were like bulldogs, refusing to back down until Oxford agreed to honor their original offer. Meanwhile, Oxford launched a full-scale investigation into Matt's fraudulent application. It was a mess, but I couldn't bring myself to feel bad for him. He'd made his bed. Word spread fast in our small town. Suddenly, my parents weren't the golden couple anymore. Dad's law firm put him on leave, pending an ethics review, and Mom resigned from the PTA in disgrace. Matt had it even worse. Once the truth came out, he was expelled and told he'd have to repeat his junior year. I heard he barely left his room for weeks. As for me, I was busy preparing for my delayed start at Oxford. My grandparents insisted I move in with them, which was honestly a relief. Living with my parents and Matt had become suffocating. Focus on your studies, Grandpa said. We'll handle everything else. Sophia was my rock through it all. She helped me pack, quizzed me on British slang, and promised to visit during breaks. You're going to crush it at Oxford, she said, her eyes shining with pride. The day I left for Oxford was bittersweet. My parents tried to come to the airport, but I asked them not to. Matt sent a text, "Good luck. I'm sorry for everything." I didn't reply. Fast forward a year, and life looked completely different. Oxford was everything I dreamed of and more. I was acing my classes, had a tight group of friends, and even joined the debate team. One sunny afternoon, I was video chatting with Sophia when she dropped a bombshell. "Your mom called me," she said hesitantly. "Your parents are getting divorced." I felt nothing. "Can't say I'm surprised," I replied. "Anything else?" Sophia nodded. "Matt's struggling. He can't get into any decent colleges with his record. He's talking about community college." Part of me felt a twinge of sympathy, but I quickly squashed it. "He made his choices," I said firmly. Sophia smiled softly. "You've really grown, Jake. I'm proud of you." I grinned back. "Speaking of growth, when are you coming to visit? I want to show my girlfriend all the sights." Her eyes widened. "Girlfriend?" "Well, yeah," I said, suddenly nervous. "If you want to be, that is." Her smile lit up the screen. "Of course I do, you dork." We spent the next hour planning her visit and talking about the future. As we chatted, I couldn't help but reflect on everything that had happened. "You know," I said, "a year ago, I thought my life was over." "But now?" Sophia asked, smiling. "Now I'm thriving," I finished, nodding. "I've learned a lot. About standing up for myself, about toxic family dynamics, and about who I really am when everything's stripped away." "And who are you, Jake?" Sophia asked softly. I thought for a moment. "I'm someone who won't let others define my worth. Someone who fights for what's right, even when it's hard. And someone who values real relationships over fake perfection." Sophia's eyes misted. "That's the Jake I fell in love with." As we said our goodbyes, promising to video chat again soon, a deep sense of peace washed over me. The road had been rough, but I had come out stronger on the other side. My future was bright, and for the first time in a long time, I was excited to see where it would lead. The story ends here, but now I've got a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you ever forgive your parents and brother for what they did? Or is some betrayal too deep to come back from? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you do in this situation. And if you enjoyed this wild ride, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Hey, I'm Nathan, your average 18-year-old high school senior counting down the days until I can break free and head to college. After years of hard work, it's finally paid off. I scored a scholarship to Westfield University. It's no Ivy League, but it's a great school, and I'm stoked. Now, let me give you a snapshot of my family. There's me, my parents, and my younger sister, Amber. She's about to turn 16, and believe me, she's the golden child. Don't get me wrong, my parents aren't bad, but they definitely have a favorite. "Nathan, can you set the table for dinner?" My mom called from the kitchen. "Sure, Mom," I said, grabbing the plates. "Need help with anything else?" "No, that's fine. Amber's busy with her homework." Typical. Amber always seemed to be busy when there were chores to do. Anyway, let me tell you about my pride and joy, my car. It's just a used Honda Civic, but I worked hard for it. Mowing lawns, washing cars, you name it. I saved every penny for 2 years, and that car is my ticket to freedom when I head to college. Later that evening, my best friend Mike stopped by. "Dude, you ready for the big move next month?" "You know it," I grinned. "I can't wait to hit the road in my sweet ride." Mike glanced out the window and lowered his voice. "By the way, your sister was checking out your car pretty hard when I pulled up. What's her deal?" I sighed. "Who knows? Probably planning her next move to get Mom and Dad wrapped around her finger again." Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Olivia, my girlfriend. "Hey babe, still on for our study date tomorrow?" I smiled, typing back, "Wouldn't miss it. You're the best support system a guy could ask for." Later, as we all sat down for dinner, I noticed Amber's eyes drifting toward the window where my car was parked. I felt uneasy, something was brewing, and I had no idea how bad it was going to get. As Amber's sweet 16 approached, the tension in the house was thick. One evening, I was chilling in my room when I heard raised voices downstairs. Curious, I crept to the top of the stairs and listened in. But Mom, Dad, it's not fair. Everyone else is getting a car for their sweet 16. Amber was saying. Honey, cars are expensive, Mom started. We can't just. What about Nathan's car? Amber interrupted. He won't even need it at college. His scholarship covers on-campus housing, right? My heart froze. Was she really trying to take my car? That's Nathan's car, sweetie, Dad replied, though he sounded uncertain. He worked hard for it. But I need it more, Amber insisted. He can always get another one later. Please, it would make my birthday perfect. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Furious, I stormed into the room. Are you serious? That's my car. I worked for 2 years to buy it. Mom looked startled. Nathan, we didn't know you were there. We were just discussing. Discussing giving away my car without asking me. I shot back. Amber turned on the waterworks. It's not fair. You always favor Nathan. Dad sighed. Nathan, calm down. We haven't decided anything yet. But I could tell they were considering it. This was insane. Over the next few days, the atmosphere was tense. I tried talking to my parents privately, explaining how much the car meant to me, but they seemed distracted and non-committal. Then the bomb dropped. We were having dinner when Dad cleared his throat. We've made a decision about the car. My heart sank. I knew what was coming, but it still hit me like a punch to the gut. We think it would be best if Amber takes the car, Dad said. Nathan, we promise we'll help you get a new one when you really need it. I stood up so fast my chair toppled over. Are you serious? That's my car. I paid for it with my own money. Mom tried to calm me down. Honey, we know you worked hard, but Amber needs it more right now. You'll be on campus, and what? My feelings don't matter. I snapped, my voice rising. Amber sat there with a smug smile, and I lost it. Fine, I shouted. Take the car. Take everything. I hope you're happy, Amber. And you too, I said, pointing at my parents. I hope you realize what you've done. I stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind me. I walked for hours trying to process the betrayal. My own family had chosen Amber's wants over my needs again. When I finally made my way back home, I realized something. Things would never be the same. I felt like an outsider in my own family, and the worst part, this was only the beginning of the storm that was about to tear through our household. The next day, I met up with Mike and Olivia at our favorite diner. I needed to vent, and they were always there for me. They really did that. Olivia asked, shaking her head in disbelief. That's so unfair. I know, right? I feel like I'm losing it. Am I overreacting? I asked, frustrated. No way, man, Mike said firmly. That's your car. You worked your ass off for it. We need to figure out a way to stand up to them. This isn't right. We spent the next hour brainstorming, but nothing seemed quite right until Mike had an idea. You know, I bet this isn't the first time Amber's pulled something like this. Maybe we should do some digging. A light bulb went off in my head. You're right, she's always getting away with stuff. There's got to be more to it. Over the next few days, I started paying closer attention to Amber. She was always on her phone, acting secretive. Then, one afternoon, I overheard her talking on the phone. No, Mom thinks I'm at study group. We're good. Suspicious, I decided to check her room while she was out. Hidden in the back of her drawer, I found crumpled report cards with grades way lower than the ones she'd shown our parents. I texted Mike immediately. Dude, I think I'm onto something. Can you come over? When Mike arrived, I filled him in. His eyes lit up. I've got an idea. Give me her phone for 5 minutes. What? How? Trust me, he said, grinning. I'll create a distraction. You grab it. 20 minutes later, Mike had worked his tech magic. We had access to Amber's social media and texts, and what we found was shocking. Holy crap, I muttered, scrolling through the messages. She's been skipping school, lying about her grades, even sneaking out at night. Mike nodded grimly. This is big, man. Your parents need to know. Meanwhile, things at home were still tense. Mom kept trying to talk to me about the car. Honey, I know you're upset, but try to understand. Amber really needs this. I just shook my head and walked away. I couldn't even look at them without feeling a mix of anger and betrayal. That night, lying in bed, I realized I couldn't count on my family anymore. It was time to start planning for my future on my own terms. I pulled out my laptop and started researching part-time jobs near campus. If I couldn't rely on my parents, I'd find a way to support myself. As I worked, I felt a mix of sadness and determination. My family had let me down, but I wasn't going to let that define me. I was going to succeed, with or without their support. The next morning, I woke up early and headed to the garage. I ran my hand over my car, soon to be Amber's car, feeling a pang in my chest. But as I turned to go back inside, I squared my shoulders. I had the truth now, and it was time to use it. Little did my family know, their perfect little world was about to come crashing down, and I was going to be the one to bring the hammer. The day had come to confront my family. My hands shook as I clutched the folder of evidence, gathering everyone in the living room. "What's this about, Nathan?" Dad asked, looking confused. I took a deep breath. "I have something you need to see." I laid out everything, hidden report cards, screenshots of texts and social media posts, all proving Amber's lies and deceit. Mom gasped. "This can't be true. Amber, tell me this isn't true." Amber's face went pale, then red with anger. "You went through my stuff. That's an invasion of privacy." "Is it true?" Dad demanded. Amber burst into tears, but I could see the calculation behind them. "I'm sorry. I just wanted to make you proud." I scoffed. "More like you wanted to manipulate them." My parents looked shell-shocked. "We need to think about this." "Amber, go to your room. We'll discuss your punishment later." But I could already see the hesitation in their eyes. They were making excuses for her. "That's it?" I asked, incredulous. "After everything she's done." Mom reached out to me. "Nathan, we understand you're upset." "No, you don't understand. You never have." That Friday night, we got the call. Amber had been caught street racing in now her, car. She'd been arrested and the car impounded. We rushed to the police station. Amber sat there, mascara streaked down her face, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. "What were you thinking?" Dad yelled. "I'm sorry," Amber wailed. "I didn't think." "No, you didn't." The officer explained the situation. Amber's license was suspended, and she was facing serious legal consequences. My parents looked devastated. As we drove home in silence, I could feel the shift. The scales had finally fallen from my parents' eyes. The next morning, they came to my room. "Nathan, we owe you an apology," Mom said, her voice trembling. "We've been blind, and we've treated you unfairly." Dad nodded. "We're so sorry, son. We want to make this right." But it was too late. The damage was done. "I appreciate that," I said coldly, "but it doesn't change anything." As the days passed and my departure for college approached, I made a decision. I put my car up for sale. "What are you doing?" Mom asked when she saw the for sale sign. "Taking control of my life," I replied. I sold the car for a decent price and used the money to buy a better, more reliable one for college. When my parents offered to help with the costs, I refused. "I've got this," I told them. "I don't need your help." The day finally came for me to leave for college. As I packed up my new car, Mike and Olivia came to see me off. "You ready for this?" Mike asked. I nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. "As ready as I'll ever be." "You're going to do great, Nathan. We believe in you." My parents stood awkwardly by the door. Mom was crying, and Dad looked like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Amber was nowhere to be seen. Last I heard, she was doing community service and attending mandated counseling sessions. Dad finally spoke up. "Nathan, we're proud of you, and we're sorry for everything." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Despite everything, a part of me still loved them. But I couldn't forget what had happened. As I drove away, Mike and Olivia following in Mike's car for the road trip to campus, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, I felt free. I was leaving behind the toxicity, the favoritism, the betrayal. Amber would have to face the consequences of her actions, and my parents would have to live with the realization of how they had treated me. As for me, I was moving forward. I had a fresh start, a chance to build a life on my own terms. It wouldn't be easy, but I was ready for the challenge. The open road stretched out before me, full of possibility. I turned up the radio, smiled at my friends in the car behind me, and pressed down on the accelerator. Whatever came next, I knew one thing for sure. I was going to make it on my own, and I was going to succeed. Now, I want to hear from you. If you were in my shoes, would you have forgiven your parents and sister? Or would you have cut ties completely? What do you think is the right balance between standing up for yourself and maintaining family relationships when trust has been broken? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences and opinions might help others facing similar situations. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more like it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Hey there, I'm Harper, a 28-year-old marketing executive. So picture this, life's perfect. I've got a great job, amazing friends, and I'm engaged to Mark Davis, this super charming lawyer I've been with for 3 years. Pretty sweet, right? Well, hold that thought. The crown jewel of my life? This stunning antique diamond ring from my late grandmother. It's been in my family forever, and Mark proposed with it. Talk about romantic. That ring is absolutely breathtaking. My best friend Lisa gushed one day over coffee. You're so lucky Mark used it for the proposal. I couldn't help but beam. I know, right? It means the world to me. At work, my coworker Jack always seemed to hover nearby. Hey, Harper, need help with that project? He'd ask, flashing a friendly smile. Thanks, Jack, but I've got it covered. I'd reply, completely unaware of his crush. Then there was Vanessa, Mark's ex. She'd pop up now and then, stirring the pot. Oh, Mark mentioned grabbing lunch to catch up, she'd say casually when we bumped into each other at a local cafe. I'd force a smile. That's nice. I'm sure you two have a lot to talk about. Later, I bringed up with Mark. Babe, I ran into Vanessa today. She mentioned you guys had lunch. Oh yeah, just a quick bite. No big deal, he shrugged. I tried to brush it off, but a knot would form in my stomach. You could have mentioned it, I'd say. Didn't think it was worth bringing up, he'd reply. You know you're the only one for me. And like an idiot, I believed him. We were planning our wedding after all. You're overthinking it, Lisa would assure me on our wine nights. Mark's crazy about you, so I pushed my doubts aside. I had the perfect job, the perfect fiancé, the perfect life, or so I thought. But little did I know, my world was about to unravel. As Mark and I dove into wedding planning, something felt off. He started acting strange, always glued to his phone and working late. That nagging feeling wouldn't go away. One night, I finally confronted him. What's with all the late nights? Big case, babe, you know how it is, he replied, not even looking up from his phone. I tried to sneak a peek at his screen. Who are you texting? He quickly snatched the phone away. Just work stuff. Don't be so nosy. That stung. The next day at work, I couldn't focus. You okay, Harper? You seem distracted, Jack asked, concern in his eyes. I forced a smile. Yeah, just wedding stress, you know. He nodded sympathetically. If you need anything, I'm here. Later, I met Lisa for lunch and spilled everything. Girl, you're just stressed about the wedding, she reassured me. Mark's crazy about you. I wanted to believe her, but doubt was creeping in. Maybe you're right, I'm probably overreacting. But then it happened. I was tidying up the apartment when I found it, a receipt for an insanely expensive necklace. My heart raced. Our anniversary was months away, and my birthday had just passed. When Mark got home, I couldn't hold back. What's this? I thrust the receipt at him. He paled. Where did you find that? Does it matter? Who's it for, Mark? It's for my mom's birthday, he stammered. I scoffed. Your mom's birthday was 2 months ago. Try again. Jesus, Harper, why are you snooping through my stuff? Snooping? It was on the floor. Who's the necklace for? He stormed off, leaving me standing there, hurt and confused. After that, I started paying more attention. Mark was constantly texting someone saved as V in his phone. My mind immediately jumped to Vanessa. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. Who's V? He looked like a deer caught in headlights. What? In your phone. You're always texting V, is it Vanessa? It's a work contact, he said, way too quickly. I didn't buy it, but I was too tired to argue. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my grandmother's ring feeling heavier than ever on my finger. What was happening to us? The next day at work, Jack noticed my mood. Rough night? I nodded, fighting back tears. You could say that. He hesitated, then said, "Look, I know it's not my place, but if you ever need to talk." I managed a weak smile. "Thanks, Jack. I appreciate it." As I left the office that evening, I made a decision. I needed answers, and I was going to get them. Little did I know, the truth would be more devastating than I could have imagined. It was my grandmother's birthday, and I woke up feeling bittersweet. I reached for my jewelry box, eager to wear her ring in her memory. But when I opened it, my heart stopped. The ring was gone. "Mark, Mark, wake up." I shook him frantically. "What's wrong?" He mumbled, still half asleep. "The ring, my grandmother's ring. It's missing." He sat up, rubbing his eyes. "Are you sure? Maybe you misplaced it?" No. This can't be happening." Mark watched me, an odd expression on his face. "Babe, calm down. We'll find it." But as the hours ticked by and we turned the apartment upside down, the ring was nowhere to be found. I collapsed onto the couch, exhausted and heartbroken. "Mark, that ring meant everything to me. How could it just disappear?" He sat beside me, his eyes avoiding mine. I don't know. Something in his voice made me look up. "Mark, what are you telling me?" He fidgeted, still not meeting my gaze. "Nothing, I'm sure it'll turn up." But I knew in that moment. "You took it, didn't you?" "What?" "No. Don't lie to me," I shouted, jumping to my feet. "What did you do with my grandmother's ring?" For hours, he denied it, accusing me of being paranoid and not trusting him. But I stood my ground, demanding the truth, until finally he broke. Okay, I sold it." The world stopped. "You what?" "I sold it. I needed the money." I couldn't breathe. "For what? What was so important that you sold my family heirloom?" He hesitated, then whispered, "For Vanessa's birthday gift." The room spun. "Vanessa? Your ex-girlfriend, Vanessa." "I'm sorry, Sarah. We've been seeing each other for a few months now." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "How could you?" "It just happened. I didn't mean for it to." "Get out." My voice was ice cold. "Sarah, please. Get out." He scrambled to his feet, grabbing his jacket. "I'll get the ring back, I promise." "Don't bother. Just get out of my sight." As soon as the door slammed behind him, I crumbled to the floor, sobbing. I don't know how long I sat there before I finally reached for my phone and dialed Lisa's number. "Lisa, can you come over? I need you." She must have heard the desperation in my voice because she didn't ask questions. "I'm on my way." While I waited for her, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Jack. "Hey, you weren't at work today. Everything okay?" I stared at the message, tears blurring my vision. How could I even begin to explain? When Lisa arrived, she found me still on the floor, surrounded by tissues. "Oh, honey," she whispered, pulling me into a hug. "What happened?" Through sobs, I told her everything: the missing ring, Mark's confession, the affair with Vanessa. "That bastard," Lisa hissed. "I'll kill him." Despite everything, I found myself laughing weakly. "Get in line." As Lisa helped me to the couch, my phone buzzed again. It was Jack. "Sarah, I'm worried. Please let me know you're okay." Lisa saw the message and raised an eyebrow. "You should tell him." I nodded, typing out a reply with shaky hands. Mark cheated. Sold my grandma's ring. Could use a friend. His response was immediate. "I'm here if you need anything." Anything at all. As I sat there, surrounded by the wreckage of my perfect life, a strange calm came over me. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of my revenge. After the shock wore off, I knew I couldn't let Mark get away with what he'd done. I called Lisa and Jack over to strategize. "We need to make him pay," Lisa said, pacing my living room. Jack nodded. "I've got a buddy who's a private investigator. He could dig up some dirt on Mark." I smiled for the first time in days. "Let's do it." We hired the PI, and boy did he deliver. Turned out, Mark wasn't just a cheater. He was a thief too. He'd been embezzling money from his law firm to fund his lavish lifestyle with Vanessa. "Holy," I muttered, looking at the evidence. "He's been stealing for months." Lisa's eyes gleamed. "This is perfect. We can take him down." We crafted our plan carefully. First, I anonymously tipped off Mark's firm about his embezzlement. Then, I exposed his cheating to our entire social circle and his family. The fallout was spectacular. Mark lost his job and was facing potential jail time. His reputation was in tatters, and I watched from afar as his perfect life crumbled around him. One day, I ran into Vanessa at the grocery store. She looked terrible. "Sarah," she said, approaching cautiously. "I'm sorry." I raised an eyebrow. "For what? Sleeping with my fiancé or spending my grandmother's ring?" She flinched. "Both. I didn't know about the ring, I swear. And Mark, he's not who I thought he was." "Karma's a asterisk, 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 isn't it?" I said, walking away. Meanwhile, I threw myself into work. My boss noticed my renewed focus. "Sarah, I'm impressed. How would you feel about a promotion?" I grinned. "I feel pretty damn good about it." As for Jack, he finally worked up the courage to ask me out. "Look, Sarah, I know you've been through a lot, but I was wondering if maybe you'd like to grab dinner sometime." I hesitated, then smiled. "You know what? I'd like that." Months passed. I was killing it at work, enjoying my new relationship with Jack, and finally feeling like myself again. Then came the night of the charity gala. I walked in wearing a stunning new dress and the ring I'd bought myself, a symbol of my independence. And there, working as a valet, was Mark. Our eyes met. He looked terrible, disheveled, tired, broken. For a moment, I felt a twinge of something, pity, maybe, regret. But then I remembered my grandmother's ring, the lies, the betrayal. I walked past him, head held high, without a second glance. Inside, Jack was waiting for me. "You okay?" he asked, noticing my expression. I took a deep breath and smiled. Never better. As we mingled with the crowd, I caught snippets of gossip about Mark's downfall. But I didn't care anymore. I was done living in the past. "Ready to dance?" Jack asked, offering his hand. I took it, feeling truly happy for the first time in ages. "Absolutely." As we swayed to the music, I realized something. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life, my power, my happiness. And I'd done it. I'd won. The story's over, but I've got a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have exposed Mark's embezzlement or kept that information as leverage? What would you have done differently for revenge? Drop your thoughts in the comments.